The last lecture was all about gymnosperms. And one important point that NTA loves, NEET and NCERT students often tend to ignore or stay away from is the concept of differences between angiosperms and gymnosperms. We are not talking about the general differences here. We are talking about the differences which are related to NEET. So here I'm going to run you through this entire lecture. Please stay with me on the screen because this entire screen is going to be now covered by differences between angiosperms and gymnosperms, and we are going to run through it each point one by one. The key differences between gymnosperms and angiosperms is you all know that gymnosperms are naked seed plants and angiosperms do not have naked seeds, which means their seeds are covered. Now, you are well aware of the general words which are called as microsporophylls, megasporophylls, ovules, etc. From that point of view, from the point of view of the formation of gametophyte, we try to understand the differences between gymnosperms and angiosperms. Stay with me. The sporophylls in gymnosperms are aggregated, and they are aggregated to form cones, whereas in angiosperms, the sporophylls are aggregated to form flowers. So it is the sporophylls which are known as flowers. Cones are generally unisexual. So the cones are generally unisexual. They are rarely bisexual, which means that they may be of single sex, either male cones or female cones. Whereas in a angiosperm, the flowers are usually bisexual. They are rarely unisexual. Usually it is both sexes are found in the same flower. Cones do not possess a perianth, so which means that the seeds are not covered by something which is called as calyx, corolla, etc. Whereas in angiosperms, the flowers contain a perianth, they contain corolla, etc. And they are the ones, petals, sepals, etc. And they are the ones that cover the seeds. Okay. Sporophylls bear a central axis, which is usually elongated. Sporophyll bearing thalamus is generally short. Microsporophylls often contain a broad sterile head, which means that the microsporophyll contains of a head which is sterile and there is no differentiation into anther and filament. Whereas in angiosperms, the microsporophylls are differentiated. They are formed of stamens and it is represented by a stamen, and the stamen consists of anther, lobe, filament, etc. Now let's come to the details of that. Microsporangia, which are borne on microsporophylls, varies from 2 to a few hundred. In Pinus it is 2 and it's a few hundred in other species of gymnosperms. Whereas in angiosperms, the number of microsporangia or pollen sacs per microsporophyll is rarely 2 and mostly it is 4. So each, when you cut open the microsporangium, it usually contains when you cut open the pollen sacs, there are 4 pollen sacs or microsporangium within an anther. So when you take a TS of an anther and you cut open it, you will see 4 microsporangium or the sacs which carry pollen grain, which are present inside, which are also commonly called as pollen sacs. Okay. Megasporophyll is commonly woody in gymnosperms, whereas in angiosperms, the megasporophyll is delicate. The megasporophyll is unrolled in gymnosperms, whereas in angiosperms, the megasporophylls, important, is rolled to form carpels. So carpel is just a megasporophyll which has been rolled. Okay. Stigma and style are absent. In angiosperms, stigma and style are both present. Ovules are not borne on a placenta in gymnosperms. In angiosperms, ovules are borne on placenta. Ovules lie exposed on megasporophyll, whereas in gymnosperms. Whereas in angiosperms, ovules are attached to the placenta and they are covered inside the ovary of the carpel. So there is the carpel has got a lower part which is called as ovary, and ovary has placenta inside it on which are born ovules in case of angiosperms. Whereas in gymnosperms, the ovules are exposed on megasporophyll. Okay, the next is ovule are sessile. In gymnosperms and angiosperms, they are borne on a stalk or funiculus. Now, an ovule is covered by 3-layered massive integument having a wide micropyle. In an angiosperm, an ovule is covered by 1 or 2 thin integuments having a narrow micropyle. The female gametophyte is large and parenchymatous in gymnosperms. The female gametophyte is represented by 7-celled and 8-nucleate embryo sac. Important, repeating it again. The female gametophyte is represented by 7-celled and 8-nucleate embryo sac. The female gametophyte contains distinct archegonia in gymnosperms, whereas in angiosperms, archegonia are absent. In gymnosperms, pollination is direct. It takes the pollen grains directly enter the ovule and come to lie over the nucellus. Whereas in angiosperms, pollination is a process which brings about pollen grains onto the stigma part of the megasporophyll, and from there they germinate to give rise to a pollen tube. In gymnosperms, male gametophyte contains one or two prothallelial cells, a tube cell, a stalk cell, and a body cell which divides to form two male gametes. Whereas in angiosperms, male gametophyte consists of a tube cell and a generative cell which divides to form two male gametes. The next point is, in gymnosperms, only one male gamete is functional and there is only one type of fertilization, which is called generative fertilization. Whereas in angiosperms, there is double fertilization. Both the male gametes are functional. One male gamete becomes the generative, gives the normal fertilization, and the other is responsible for triple fusion. This is important. Triple fusion is a characteristic feature of angiosperms which is absent in gymnosperms. Endosperm is a pre-fertilization structure in gymnosperms, and it represents the food-laden female gametophyte, whereas in angiosperms it is a post-fertilization structure and it represents a triploid tissue. This is a very clear distinctive point of difference between gymnosperms and angiosperms. An endosperm is a pre-fertilization structure in gymnosperm, whereas in angiosperms, endosperm is a post-fertilization structure and it represents a triploid tissue. It is a triploid material. In gymnosperms, seeds develop exposed on the megasporophyll. A fruit is never formed, whereas in angiosperms, seeds develop inside the ovary and a fruit is formed. The embryo may contain one to several cotyledons in gymnosperms, whereas in angiosperms, it contains one or two cotyledons, based on which angiosperms are divided into monocots and dicots. Do stay with me. I've tried to capture as much as possible differences between gymnosperms and angiosperms from NEET and NTA point of view. And do go through these tables, save them, like them, share, subscribe my lecture, and do ask me in the comment section if there is any comment you need to ask me. Stay with me.